ABC General Hospital, the Thanksgiving. Tragedy at the Quartermaine Mansion, A. Murder that shakes Port Charles. Welcome back to the ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. Today we will learn about the shocking events unfolding in Port Charles that have turned a family celebration into a nightmare of betrayal, grief, and investigation. This storyline delves deep into the Quartermaine family's fragile reconciliation, a vengeful return, and a poisoning that claims an innocent life, leaving everyone questioning who they can truly trust. What was meant to be a joyous Thanksgiving gathering has become the backdrop for one of the most gripping mysteries in recent episodes, with twists that will keep viewers on the edge of their seats. Tracy. Quartermaine's path to reconciliation. 2. Fully grasp the gravity of what transpired, we must first revisit Tracy Quartermaine's journey toward mending fences with her family. Tracy, the sharp, taunt matriarch known for her ruthless schemes and unyielding ambition, has long been a divisive figure in the Quarter dynasty. Her history is riddled with manipulations, from corporate takeovers to personal vendettas that fractured relationships and sowed seeds of resentment among her relatives. Yet, in a surprising turn of character development, Tracy has undergone a profound transformation driven by introspection and the weight of her past actions. This reconciliation didn't happen overnight. It was forged through tense family meetings, heartfelt confessions, and a collective decision to prioritize healing over grudges. Tracy, who once wielded power like a weapon, now seeks redemption, acknowledging the pain she inflicted on her kin. The Quartermaines, a family accustomed to dysfunction, saw this as an opportunity to rebuild. As Thanksgiving approached, the idea of hosting the grandest feast in years emerged as a symbol of unity, a chance to gather under one roof without the shadows of old feuds looming large. Invitations went out to every branch of the family tree, from distant cousins to immediate relatives, promising a night of gratitude and renewal. The mansion buzzed with anticipation in the days leading up to the event. Servants, polished silverware, floral arrangements bloomed in every corner, and the kitchen staff prepared a menu featuring traditional favorites like turkey stuffing, cranberry sauce, and pumpkin pie. Tracy herself oversaw much of the planning, her usual commanding presence softened by a genuine desire to make amends. Family members like Ned, Dylan, and Brooklyn arrived with cautious optimism, sharing stories and laughter that hinted at a brighter future. For a moment, it seemed as though the Quartermaines might finally escape their cycle of drama, preparations, and the shadow of vengeance. The Quartermaine mansion, with its sprawling halls and opulent dining room, was transformed into a haven of holiday warmth. Crystal chandeliers cast a golden glow over the long mahogany table set for dozens. Heirloom china and linens passed down through generations added a touch of timeless elegance. The air filled with aromas of roasting meats, simmering sauces, and fresh-baked breads, evoking memories of Thanksgivings past when the family was whole. Guests mingled in the drawing room, clinking glasses of champagne and exchanging pleasantries, while children, including young Joe Palmieri, Tracy's beloved nephew, played in the gardens, oblivious to the undercurrents of tension. But beneath this facade of harmony lurked a darker force. Drew Kane, a man scarred by loss and betrayal, had been plotting his return to Port Charles. Once a key player in the town's intricate web of relationships, Drew's life had unraveled due to manipulations involving the Quartermaines, particularly Tracy's role in his past sufferings. His motivation was pure vengeance to strike at the heart of the family by targeting Tracy, whom he blamed for much of his misery. Drew's plan was meticulous. He had acquired a potent poison, colorless and tasteless, designed to mimic a natural illness. Slipping back into Port Charles under the cover of night, he infiltrated the mansion's perimeter, using old connections to gain access to the kitchen unnoticed. Drew moved like a ghost through the shadows. His heart hardened by years of isolation. He knew the layout intimately from previous visits and timed his entry during the chaos of final preparations. The poison was destined for Tracy's personal plated dish he favored, ensuring the act felt personal. As he completed his task, Drew vanished into the night, convinced his revenge was set in motion. Little did he know this single act would unleash a chain of events far beyond his control, ensnaring innocence in its deadly web. The feast turns fatal. The dinner commenced with toasts to family and forgiveness, the room alive with chatter and the clatter of utensils. Tracy, seated at the head of the table, raised her glass with uncharacteristic warmth, thanking everyone for their willingness to move forward. Laughter echoed as stories of holidays gone by were recounted, tales of Michael's childhood antics, Ned's business triumphs, and even Tracy's rare moments of vulnerability. The meal progressed, course by course. Appetizers of butternut squash soup, the main event of herb-rusted turkey with all the trimmings, and sides passed out in a communal spirit. Then catastrophe struck without warning. Midway through the entree, Joe Pommy, Ari Tracy's favorite nephew, a bright-eyed young man in his early studying medicine and full of promise, clutched his throat and collapsed from his chair. Gasps filled the air as plates clattered to the floor. Joe's face contorted in agony, his body convulsing before going still. Panic erupted. Family members rushed to his side. Someone dialed and the paramedics arrived in a frenzy of sirens, but it was too late. Joe was pronounced dead at the scene. His youthful vitality extinguished in an instant. Initial suspicions pointed to a severe allergic reaction or heart issue, but forensic teams quickly uncovered the truth. Poisoning. Traces of a rare toxin were found in his system administered through the food. The realization hit like a thunderbolt. This was no accident, but a deliberate murder. The festive table became a crime scene. Yellow tape cordoning off the dining area as investigators swarmed the mansion. The quarter remained stunned. Into silence watched as their holiday joy curdled into horror. The victim, Joe Palmer's tragic loss. Joe Palmieri was no ordinary family member. He was the light of Tracy's life. A nephew she had taken under her wing after his parents' early passing. Joe embodied the Quartermaine legacy at its best. Intelligent, compassionate, and untainted by the family's darker tendencies. He had dreams of becoming a doctor, inspired by the medical professionals at General Hospital, and spent his days volunteering at local clinics. His sudden death not only shattered Tracy, but rippled through the entire clan, reminding them of their vulnerability. Tracy's grief was visceral. She collapsed into a chair, tears streaming as she whispered apologies to the empty space where Joe had sat. He was the one good thing I didn't ruin, she murmured to no one in particular. The family rallied around her, but the undercurrent of blame was palpable. Why, Joe? The investigation revealed the poison was meant for Tracy's portion, but a last-minute switch, perhaps a simple act of kindness or confusion, led Joe to consume it. Instead, this twist amplified the tragedy, turning a targeted attack into collateral devastation. Poor Charles mourned collectively. News spread like wildfire, with locals gathering at the hospital to light candles in Joe's memory. His death wasn't just a personal loss. It exposed the fractures in one of the town's most powerful families, forcing everyone to confront how far-reaching the consequences of hatred could be. Suspects emerge. A web of motives as the Port Charles Police Department took over. A roster of suspects quickly formed, each with plausible reasons and opportunities. At the top was Drew Kane, whose disappearance post-dinner raised immediate red flags. His vendetta against Tracy was no secret. Rumors of his return had circulated for weeks, fueled by old grievances from his time entangled in Quartermaine schemes. Investigators found traces of his presence near the mansion service entrance, and his history of covert operations made him a prime candidate for such a calculated strike. Ned Quartermaine couldn't be overlooked either. As the family patriarch, Ned harbored deep resentment toward Tracy for falsely accusing him of poisoning Ronnie in a prior scandal. That betrayal had cost him trust and respect within the family, leaving scars that Thanksgiving's reconciliation barely healed. Ned had full access to the kitchen and knowledge of dietary preferences, positioning him perfectly to tamper with the food. His alibi mingling with guests was shaky as witnesses placed him near the serving area during key moments. Brooklyn Quartermaine, Ned's fiercely loyal daughter, emerged as another possibility. Known for her protective instincts, Brooklyn had always shielded the family from external threats. If she suspected Drew's plot, she might have intervened preemptively, only for things to spiral out of control. Her emotional volatility and proximity to the events made her a wild-card suspect, especially as evidence of her handling ingredients surfaced. Even Tracy herself loomed as a suspect in whispers. Could this be an elaborate suicide attempt born from overwhelming guilt over her lifetime of manipulations? Tracy's access was unlimited, and her recent emotional fragility suggested a breaking point. Detectives probed her mental state, uncovering diary entries hinting at remorse. But her alibi of hosting duties held firm for now. Dante Falconer's heart-wrenching investigation leading The probe was Detective Dante Falconeri, a seasoned officer whose reputation for thoroughness preceded him. But this case hit closer to home than any before. Joe is Danny's son, born from a brief but passionate relationship. During his early days in Port Charles, father and son had reconnected recently, building a bond Dante cherished amid his demanding career. Now he faced the unimaginable, investigating the murder of his own child. Dante compartmentalized his anguish, channeling it into relentless pursuit of justice. He combed the mansion for clues, fingerprints on serving dishes, security footage, glitches, and residue in the pantry. Interviews with family members were grueling. He pressed Ned on old grudges, questioned Drew's whereabouts through associates, and gently, but firmly, interrogated Brooklyn about her movements. Each revelation tore at him. Learning Joe's last words were a simple "I love you" to the family, or discovering the poison's exotic origin tied to black market sources Drew might access. The emotional toll mounted. Dante confided in colleagues at the station about sleepless nights haunted by Joe's smile. Yet he pressed on, determined to honor his son's memory. His dual role as detective and grieving father blurred lines, drawing scrutiny from superiors. But Dai's integrity shone through, making his quest for truth all the more compelling. Brooklyn's descent into despair. Amid the chaos, Quartermaine unraveled. As Ned's daughter and a rising star in the music industry, she had always been the family's emotional anchor. But the weight of the investigation crushed her. Whispers of her involvement stemming from her kitchen assistants amplified her guilt. Though she hadn't intended harm, the pressure built, sleepless nights, tearful confrontations, and the fear of losing everything she held dear. Unable to cope, Brooklyn attempted suicide, swallowing a handful of pills in a moment of overwhelming despair. Discovered by a housemaid, she was rushed to General Hospital where doctors stabilized her. The incident sent shock waves through the family, with Tracy blaming herself for the ripple effects of the poisoning. Brooklyn's survival brought temporary relief, but her mental health battle became a central subplot, highlighting themes of trauma and resilience in Port Charles. Chase's impossible dilemma. Harrison Chase, Brooklyn's devoted husband and the newly appointed police commissioner, faced an excruciating choice. As a rock, he yearned to shield her from the storm, holding her hand through therapy sessions and whispering assurances of their future. Yet, his badge demanded impartiality. Emerging evidence witnessed statements placing Brooklyn near the tainted dish, and chemical traces on her gloves pointed squarely at her as the primary suspect. Chase wrestled with loyalty versus duty. He recused himself from direct involvement, delegating to Dante, but couldn't ignore the mounting case against his wife. Late night arguments ensued, with Brooklyn pleading innocence and Chase torn between belief in her and the oath he swore. This conflict tested their marriage, forcing Chase to navigate ethical minefields while supporting Brooklyn's recovery. His internal struggle humanized him, portraying the personal cost of justice in a small town like Port Charles. Unraveling the truth. An unintended catastrophe. Forensic breakthroughs pieced together the puzzle. Lab analysis confirmed the poison was a homemade concoction, not a commercial toxin, suggesting improvisation during the evening. Surveillance snippets captured a scuffle. In the kitchen shadows, Drew, confronting an intruder, revealed as Brooklyn, who had spotted him sneaking in a desperate bid to protect Tracy. Brooklyn had tailed Drew, leading to a struggle where vials of chemicals spilled and mixed accidentally. In the chaos, the lethal brew ended up in a serving bowl intended for the main course. Joe, ever the polite guest, took a portion meant for Tracy after she passed it along, unknowingly ingesting the fatal dose. Brooklyn's actions, born of love and fear, had unwittingly created the poison while thwarting Drew's plan, turning her into the inadvertent architect of tragedy. Drew, cleared of direct poisoning, but implicated in starting the chain, fled, but was later apprehended. His confession painted a picture of rage-fueled recklessness. But the true heartbreak lay in Brooklyn's innocence. Amid appearances, the aftermath, a family forever changed. The Quartermaine mansion, once a symbol of enduring legacy, now echoed with sorrow. Tracy retreated into isolation, vowing to atone by funding youth programs in Joe's name. Ned grappled with paternal guilt, straining his already tense dynamic with Brooklyn. Dante found solace in memorials, channeling grief into community outreach, while Chase and Brooklyn underwent couples counseling. Their bond tested but unbroken. Port Charles reeled from the scandal with headlines dominating local news and General Hospital staff supporting the family's healing. This Thanksgiving massacre underscored the fragility of forgiveness, the dangers of vengeance, and the unintended consequences of protective instincts. As the investigation concludes with Brooklyn's charges dropped due to lack of intent, the Quartermaines face a new chapter, one of cautious rebuilding amid lingering scars. Next, we will learn about the urgent case for resurrecting Samacall to rescue her vulnerable daughter, Scout Quartermaine, from a crumbling family dynamic in Port Charles. In the ever-wisting world of General Hospital, where graves are merely temporary pit stops and heartbeats can restart at the writer's whim, Sam's potential return isn't just a fan wish. It's a narrative necessity that could reignite the show's emotional core. Fans have witnessed countless miracles. Britt Westman, emerging from the shadows of her own demise like a phoenix in Scrubs. Nathan West defying the finality of Lost to reclaim his place among the living. And Jason Morgan's multiple revivals turning death into a revolving door. These precedents prove that Port Charles operates under its own resurrection rules, where science, supernatural forces, or sheer plot convenience can pull characters back from the brink, leaving viewers breathless and begging for more twists. Imagine the dramatic potential if Sam followed suit. Her story could explore advanced cryogenic tech hidden in a Quartermaine lab, or a secret twin revealing herself as the deceased Sam, adding layers of intrigue that echo Jason's own identity sagas, but with a fiercely maternal spin. Samal's exit was a gut-wrenching tragedy that left scars on the canvas of General Hospital, robbing the series of one of its most Resilient and multifaceted heroines who bridged feuds, romances, and mysteries with unyielding grace. Her demise during that fateful surgery wasn't merely dramatic. It was a brutal spectacle of suffering, complete with labored breaths and tear-streaked goodbyes that had audiences clutching tissues and cursing the screen. As a private investigator turned devoted mother, Sam embodied the show's blend of grit and heart, solving crimes by day and nurturing her blended tribe by night. Her absence now echoes like a missing chord in a symphony, dulling the vibrancy of Port Charles' interpersonal chaos. To deepen this void, consider how Sam's investigative skills could unravel ongoing plots like probing the shady dealings at ELQ or exposing hidden alliances in the Casadini web, elements that feel incomplete without her sharp intuition guiding the narrative forward. Fans still reeling from Kelly Monaco's portrayal of a woman who evolved from con artist to cornerstone deserve a redemption arc that honors her legacy, rather than letting it fade into soap opera oblivion. At the heart of this resurrection plea lies the profound ache of Sam's children, Danny, Morgan, and Scout. Quartermaine, whose young lives hang in the balance without their mothers' fierce protection amid the Quartermaine family fractures. Danny, the resilient eldest, carries the weight of Sam's final words like a sacred vow, reminding Alexis Davis during a poignant family gathering how his mom urged him to safeguard Scout just before the operating room doors closed. A moment that crystallized his budding sense of duty. That Halloween scene with Danny presenting those golden chocolate coin, Sam's cherished tradition for her kids, tugged at every viewer's heartstrings, symbolizing not just sibling love but the irreplaceable rituals a mother instills. Scout, the wide-eyed toddler, navigating this loss, clings to faded memories of lullabies and bedtime stories Sam once whispered, her tiny world shrinking without the stability only a parent's embrace can provide. Invent a new layer. Perhaps Scout's nightmares feature ghostly visions of Sam promising return, foreshadowing a plot where these dreams become clues to her resurrection. Blending child psychology with supernatural suspense to heighten the emotional stakes. These siblings bound by blood and loss represent the innocent casualties of adult vendettas. Their separation a cruel twist that demands maternal intervention to mend. Drew Kane's transformation into a domineering force has turned Scout's upbringing into a battlefield where his vengeful decisions poison the well of family bonds that Samo carefully cultivated. Once a somewhat redeemable figure, Drew has devolved into a calculating antagonist. His recent affair with Willow Tate, snatched from under Michael Corinthos' nose, revealing a ruthless streak that prioritizes personal conquests over parental responsibilities. Picture Drew's cold calculation in boardroom confrontations spilling into home life, where he enforces isolation as punishment, barring Scout from joyful playdates with cousins or holiday feasts that once filled the Falconer Quartermaine home with laughter. Alexis Davis's desperate bargain trading her legal expertise for Willow's defense in exchange for supervised visits highlights the desperation. Yet even that fragile access crumbles under Drew's iron grip, leaving Scout adrift in a mansion of echoes. Delve deeper. Analyze how Drew's military past fuels this control freak persona. Perhaps inventing flashbacks to his presumed dead days where survival instincts warped into paranoia, making him view Jason's influence as an existential threat rather than brotherly rivalry. Scout's misery manifests in withdrawn behaviors like refusing favorite toys or sketching lonely figures, underscoring the psychological toll that no nanny or gadget can heal. Lonely Sam's return could shatter this cycle of neglect. Sam's last will and testament envisioned a united front for her loved ones, stipulating that Danny and Scout remain inseparable under the watchful eyes of Dante, Falconeri and the extended clan. A blueprint now shattered by Drew's unilateral decrees. The blended family. Danny's steady presence, Rocco's playful energy, and the siblings' unbreakable tie form to haven. Sam built brick by emotional brick. From shared pizza nights to crisis interventions that were them tighter. Since her passing, Scout's isolation has bred quiet despair, her once sparkling eyes dimmed by the absence of Danny's protective hugs or the Falconer kitchen's warmth. Expand this rift. Introduce a fictional custody. Hearing where Dante pleads for joint time, citing Sam's explicit wishes, only for Drew to counter with fabricated reports of instability in the Morgan household, escalating the drama into a legal thriller subplot. This destruction isn't abstract. It's a daily erosion of Scout's sense of belonging, robbing her of the sibling adventures and family lore that Sam went into their lives. If Sam witnessed this betrayal, her reaction would be volcanic, channeling her pie prowess to expose Drew's manipulations and reclaim her daughter's future. Drew's attempt to ship Scout off to Westwood Academy stands as a stark emblem of his misguided authority. Elite institution with ivy-covered walls and rigorous curriculums that clashed violently with the girls' rooted affections in Port Charles. Scout's tearful protests clutching her backpack and declaring her love for local friends. Like little Amy from kindergarten, painted a vivid portrait of a child torn from her foundation. Her small voice cracking under the weight of her location fears. Sam intervened like a lioness, rallying allies from the PCPD to elk influencers, arguing that Westwood's cold prestige pat against the nurturing chaos of home, where teachers knew Scouts, quirks, and playgrounds held her laughter. Inventive twist. Reveal. Hidden academy scandals like favoritism scandals or bullying rings that Sam uncovers through anonymous tips, turning the rejection into a broader expose on elite education's dark underbelly. Dies. Parallel anguish sneaking letters to his sister via Alexis amplifies the siblings' longing. Their bond a beacon against Drew's isolation tactics. Without Sam's advocacy, these battles feel futile as Drew's ego fueled by grudges against Jason and perceived slight blinds into the human cost of his edicts. Drew's cruelty extends to severing Scout from her wider network, grandmother Alexis's wisdom and affections, and the boisterous energy of uncles, creating a fortress of solitude that defies Sam's vision of interconnected love. Banning holiday gatherings or simple park outings with extended kin isn't protection. It's punishment masked as prudence, leaving Scout to question her worth and whispered. Bedtimes. Analyze the ripple effects. Alexis's legal battles drain her energy, while Danny's frustration simmers. Into quiet rebellion, plotting ways to bridge the divide without legal fallout. Drew's post-Willow glow-up has morphed him into a parody of paternal care. His decisions laced with spite toward Jason's circle, viewing any family tie as a vulnerability to exploit. New Element Scout's secret journal entries, discovered later, detail her confusion over Daddy's anger clouds, hinting at an emerging empathy that could humanize Drew or doom him if Sam returns to dismantle his regime. This isolation isn't just narrative fodder. It's a call to arms for Sam's spectral influence to restore the Quartermaine legacy of flawed but fierce unity. Ultimately, Sam's resurrection would be a triumphant homecoming, enveloping her children in reunions brimming with hugs and whispered apologies while mending the frayed edges of her sister's alliances. And Alexis's weary resolve. Scout above all yearns for her mother's guidance through these turbulent tides. A chance to rebuild under the woman who taught resilience amid Port Charles storms. Though Kelly Monaco's departure carried the sting of unresolved tensions with producers amid rumors of contract disputes and creative clashes, her devoted followers clamor for vindication, envisioning Sam's arc as a phoenix rise that salutes the actress's iconic tenure. Picture the scenes. Sam materializing in a hospital glow. First cradling Scout, then confronting Drew with a steely gaze that promises accountability. This return wouldn't just fill a void, it would catalyze fresh sagas. From custody wars to redemptive dialogues, ensuring general hospital pulses with the vitality Sam always brought. Fans, let's rally for this justice. Sam's story demands an encore that heals hearts and hooks us all over again.